Welcome to the next episode of the No.1 Fantasy Pints Podcast. I've just about caught my breath. We've been playing six-a-side football before recording this little intro. How are you feeling after that game? Is that your response? Is that your response? You've not got anything to say?
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, that.
Yeah, we did indeed lose to Robin Hood's Merry Men at Lee Sports Village, six-a-side. Yeah. A crushing defeat.
We do treat those as our rivals.
We don't really know if they do it as well. But.
Don't think they feel the same way. Started off with a season where we were particularly bad and we hadn't won a game, and neither had they. And so we had a bottom of the table clash against them, which we won, and we've treated them as our rivals. Since then, we're now second in the league, which also hurts me to say. But we got beat 2-0 today with a weakened squad, but we're just not fit enough. Some of us are just not fit enough.
Yeah, speak for yourself, James. No, I'm definitely not fit enough. I thought interesting. Robin Hood's Merry Men, I think, started off as like a team of like 40 to 50-year-old men with one young lad that was obviously one of the kids, and now the older men have now gone, and it's just a team of people a lot younger than us. So it's harder to play against them, but it's okay. We move on. We move towards the Otley run, which is our end of season due in a few weeks' time. It doesn't matter about results. Yeah,
4 weeks. 3 weeks on Saturday.
Yeah.
Boom.
But I think it
continues again.
You what?
Snap me tooth again.
That should just be taken as a given. You should inform us if you've not snapped your tooth.
Well, it's the temporary thing just keeps coming off, so it's getting put back on again on Friday. I am going away on Sunday, which we will get to. Yeah. After that, I am getting a more permanent new veneer on the tooth. For anyone who's listened to this podcast, this is the first one you've listened to. 3-4 weeks ago, I'm a musician, snapped my tooth in a bar, landed on a mic stand, microphone, smashed into the mouth, half a tooth. 4 times now it's come off, giving up with it, to be honest, but I would quite like to take some happy pictures in New York. So
you should have just pretended that you did it against Robin Hood's Merry Men, but well, you missed an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, the reality is I did it brushing my teeth, knocked the tooth to the side, and it just came off.
Who have we got this week?
This is one that I was very excited for, but unfortunately could not attend because my daughter has chicken pox and requires my full attention at the time at which we were scheduled to record, which is unfortunate. It is the Wombats' own Dan Haggis. Sean, how have you managed this?
How have I managed it? What do you mean by that?
How have we got ourselves in a position where we're talking to Dan Haggis?
You mean how does a member of the Wombats get himself into a position where he can talk to the No.1 Fantasy Pints Podcast?
That too.
I'll tell you what it is. It's because he's a lovely fella who's got time for very small podcasts.
Valuable time,
but you weren't there to say it this time. So
yeah,
he's fresh from Lollapalooza. Just got back from Lollapalooza, and here he is.
Lovely stuff.
And we're joined this week by the drummer of one of the UK's leading indie bands, the Wombats. It's Dan Haggis. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Just getting over some jet lag from South America that's been lingering all week, but getting there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Lollapalooza, wasn't it? So how was that? I've heard there was a little bit of a weather issue for the set.
Oh, it was crazy. The whole thing was amazing. Like we did Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires and Argentina for the first time. And it's always so nice, like playing new cities and new countries. And, it feels like the early days because you just don't know if anyone's going to turn up, whether they're going to know the songs and all that. So, it feels really exciting. And the crowds were great, really friendly, welcoming, sang along, danced. And then Sao Paulo, we got 5 songs into our set, 4.5. We were halfway through Kill the Director, and then it started spitting. and then it just rained harder and harder and harder until it got to the point when it was like tropical storm. And like we were trying to sing, but water just going in your eyes, almost like cymbals falling over and stuff. And the stage manager and our tour manager just ran on stage like, get off, because they were worried the stage was going to collapse or something, because like one of the back trusses did actually like apparently shift a little bit, and they got really worried because the wind was blowing all the, there's like flaps and stuff protecting from the rain, and they were all blowing off, and it was pretty mad. But we were just so gutted to not be able to finish the set because it was going so well. And when you haven't played in a city before, or not for a long time, it's so nice to finally get over there, and you've gone all that way. Everything you do just builds up to this one moment, this 1 hour, and then to not be able to do it was quite frustrating. But anyway, these things happen. Hopefully we'll get back there one day.
I was going to say, I'm sure you could go back there, but I always see these sort of videos of South American gigs. The fans seem quite wild on a lot of them. Was that your experience as well? Yeah,
they were amazing. Like, they had like flags with the Wombats written on it, and they were doing these chants in between, like ole 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 Wombats, and like but they all just go for it. But it's quite. It kind of reminded me of the UK, to be honest. The atmosphere at UK festivals are always just crazy, and people just let loose and sing along, dance along, lose their inhibitions for the weekend, and it is similar vibe.
You say the UK, people always say Scotland in particular. Is that what you've found as well? Whenever you ask anyone, it's always Scotland is the craziest crowd.
I guess, we've had honestly, the whole UK for us is always like, it's kind of hard to pick where anywhere is like wilder than the other. But we've had a couple, like back in the early days, especially like Glasgow, I remember, was always just off the charts. And there's much more like beer getting thrown around and stuff, and but honestly, the whole UK is just it's all pretty much a muchness.
I imagine Liverpool's not too shabby for you as well.
Exactly.
You did go on the US tour, didn't you, beforehand? So what I imagine that there were some places you visited there that you might not have played before. So what was that experience like?
I think with America, like in general, I'm not sure there was anywhere we hadn't played before, but you tend to do like a similar route. There's, because it's such a big country, there are certain places you just have to play to connect dots. And it's amazing, like playing over there. It's every band's kind of dream when you're a teenager, like to do a road trip around America and tour over there. Especially when so many bands that we all grew up listening to are from the States, and it kind of like, there's a lot of cities where you're like, oh wow, you play in Seattle and it's like grunge almost like started here, and go to LA and it's like, wow, the Beach Boys recorded down the road there, and everywhere you go it's kind of there's like musical history and stuff, and then people are just so lovely and friendly, and our fans are great over there, and there is just that sense of adventure in the wide open road, and it's pretty knackering. Like, I've forgotten after the pandemic, after 2 years of barely traveling, to then get back on a tour bus and have like regular 10, 11, 12-hour drives with lots of potholes waking you up in between, and then having to function the next day and do interviews and gigs.
And away from the music, it's, I suppose, a just brilliant experience as well. Here's an off-piece question. What's the best bit of food you had when you were either in South America or America?
Oh, wow. Best piece of food I had.
Because I imagine they've got quite particularly South America, I bet has got a bit of a different vibe to it.
So in South America, the first thing that popped into my head was these things in Sao Paulo. I think it was like quencha or something like that. I can't remember the name, but they were like these conical kind of empanada. Well, no, it wasn't empanada. It was like a croquette, almost like kind of a deep fried, but it was like made from potato dough or flour or something. And then it had like a filling inside, and then breadcrumbs like fried, and you had it with this like really spicy sauce, and kind of like a cold slawy type remoulade thing. And that with a little beer sat out on the street in 30 degrees, that was a pretty good moment.
That sounds good. And now I regret asking the question because I am hungry again. But
I know, it's getting close to lunchtime, isn't it?
Definitely is. So we have to talk about the album, Fix Yourself, Not the World. Firstly, it was your first UK #1 album.
Yeah, it was.
So what did that feel like?
We were actually in Washington when we found out all together, fortunately. And yeah, it was a big surprise, to be honest. I think we've had a couple of number 2s, number 3s, and while it's only a number and it kind of, it's kind of arbitrary, because one week it might be enough sales to get number 1, but then the next week it wouldn't be. So it's still really fun. It's like such a sort of career milestone, sense of achievement. It's one of those things you can put on your shelf, and when you're having like a dark day later in life, and you can be like, oh wow, all that hard work kind of paid off, and there's the representation of it. And more than anything, it was kind of, we'd worked so hard at it through the pandemic. It was quite an unusual process, and to come out of it with an album that we were really happy with, and felt like a real good step in, forwards for us as a band. And for fans to like still be there and engage and like, be really into the album, that was the best, that's the best feeling ever, because you have a lot of time building up to releasing an album to think, oh, how's it going to go? And then so it's kind of a nice one out of the starting gates to get that, like, yeah, off you go, guys.
Yeah, well, it's a great album, and it's a great title as well, and I've seen a lot of people mention the title, and I remember when I first sort of shared it with my mate, the first thing he said was, oh, great title. So where did the title stem from?
Yeah, so we towards the end of the recording process, Merv sent an email over saying, I was thinking this, like, for the album title, what do you reckon? And we started an email thread, like, talking about it, and we realized pretty quickly how many questions it threw up for all of us, which we absolutely loved, because I think the album in general, there's lots of subjects and issues and times of our lives that like have gone into it, and it felt like during the pandemic it was such a strange period for everyone, and you didn't have as many distractions as we had pre-pandemic, and so you were kind of just left to your own devices with your own brain a lot of the time, and any of those issues or demons that needed to be dealt with that you could easily distract from before, kind of, you had to face up to them. And I think it was, so when we started talking about the album title, it was like, oh wow, actually this feels like a perfect way to sum up kind of the journey that we've all been on through the pandemic, and learning to like accept who you are, how you feel, your flaws, your whatever, everything that's going on in your life, and just try and accept it and realize you can't control everything in the world. It's a big old place, and to get too bogged down or distracted by everything else that's going on, you can often neglect like what's actually happening in your own head. So I think that was the main thing. But then one of the threads we had, it was like, well, we don't want it to come across as like a selfish title, meaning, yeah, we don't care about the rest of the world, just think about yourself, like, that's all that matters, because obviously that's not the intention of the title, but it was more, if you're really depressed and anxious and can't even get out of bed, then you're not going to be able to help anyone in your family or society or anything. But so that's why we called the last song on the album Fix Yourself, Then the World, to kind of, hopefully, the journey from the craziness of Flip Me Upside Down to the last song. It was like, hopefully you do get to that same place that we got to, of, well, trying to accept things as they were, and that things weren't the same as they were before, but that's okay. You just got to deal with your shit.
Yeah, and it's been really well received. How has it gone down live, and what's maybe your favorite track to play from the album?
Yeah, it's been amazing to play live room because of the pandemic, so to actually get in a room together playing the songs properly was such an amazing feeling, and then to have fans kind of sing back and have that interaction and moment was just it's kind of hard to put into words. But favorite song was probably I think it's Method to the Madness. It keeps like every time we play it, it's such a nice like break in the set for the first bit, but then the build up into the last section where it kicks off has been like, I mean, in Santiago, Chile, a couple of weeks ago, the whole crowd, without us even telling them, started all sitting down. And then we ended up with like thousands of people sat down on the floor. And as it built up to the end, you know, when it actually kicked off, they all jumped up and like water went spraying everywhere. It was amazing, like proper goosebumps. And we've had quite a few mosh pits in that end bit as well in America. And it seems like, and just as a song as well, it's just such a fun one to play. Really dynamic. And so, yeah, probably go for that one.
Yeah. You have to get that going at the UK tour then.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. As you said, it's a landmark sort of milestone #1 album, and it's sort of testament to the ascension of the band, I suppose. But I remember reading comments I think Murph made where he was like, at one point he wasn't sure sort of where it was going, and then suddenly it was a new lease of life, and he thought we can headline festivals and stuff like that. What's your perception on that? What's kind of the trick to the longevity of the one?
Yeah, I mean, as with any long relationship or, you know, like friendship like we've had, you obviously have, especially when there's all the like creativity and how busy we are on tour and stuff. I mean, there's going to be like ups and downs, and you get stressed sometimes. And, you know, I think probably what Murph was referring to was after the third album, we got dropped by Warner's. And so I think that kind of, it was so weird because like we'd done our biggest London show the night before we got dropped, and we played at like Alexandra Palace. Sold out gig, had the best time. Woke up the next day in Edinburgh, and we got a call from our manager saying like they're not going to pick up the next option. Which, I mean, that sounds better than being dropped, but you know, they didn't pick up the next album option. But that was because there'd been a change, you know, like the chairman of the company, the head of the company, the A&R guy, you know, the people who'd like brought us into Warner's in the early days, they were no longer there. So I could rationalize it quite easily, to be honest. And because everything was going well live but I think, yeah, it was a bit of a blow, I guess. And Murph definitely took it a bit, you know, he maybe more sensitive to it than me and Todd were. And it's worked out. You know, it's been the best thing that could ever have happened. It was an absolute blessing in disguise. You know, we do think we record the albums and then license them to AWOL. That's what we've done for the last couple. And there's just no one looking over your shoulder. Like, you know, we just deliver the album, and they give, you know, they're great, and they give us some feedback on like which songs are their favorites, and you know, if they've got any thoughts on anything. But in general, it's kind of just like, yeah, guys, make an album and let us know when it's ready. So it's a really nice way of working. And I mean, in terms of longevity, I think it's just that we always put like the music and the band kind of before us three almost. You know, it's like, you know, that sort of like family unit is what's most important. And we've got a really good like touring crew that have been really loyal over the years. Like, so we've got a really nice, like tightly knit unit. And so, you know, all the traveling and everything like feels easier because we have like good friends on tour with us. And we just want to like keep making music and like soundtracking our lives really as long as we possibly can.
Because it's not as if it's just a band sticking around. It's a band going from strength to strength, sort of climbing festival lineups still. So it must be an amazing feeling to still be a part of it.
It is awesome. I think like you know, there's obviously, you have some songs that do all right at radio, and then with streaming, we've been quite lucky with, I guess, how there's lots of like indie rock playlists, and so maybe like, you know, the next generation coming through have like discovered our music as well. And then we had that like viral Tik Tok thing with a Greek Tragedy remix that was probably discovered by a whole another group of people. And I don't know, I think we've just been a bit lucky along the way as well, where people have just stumbled upon our music, however, and then gotten into it, and it's made them feel something, and then come along to gigs. And I think the longer you do it as well, you become like a bit more of a sort of a stable, oh yeah, that's, you know, we know that band, they've been around for years, you know, that more and more people just know, it's like, oh yeah, they're that band. Whereas on your first album, it's a bit more like, oh, what's going to happen? Is the second album going to do anything? And lots of bands can end up kind of just fading away, and people remember the first album, but nothing beyond that. And I think we've always tried to like change up every album as we've been going as well. You know, maybe to people outside it doesn't sound quite that different, but for us it's always been like quite a change from album to album.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned, because it is a new generation has came on board, haven't they? Interesting to hear you mention the TikTok. So what happened there with Greek Tragedy?
So random, and like we had nothing to do with it. We literally had heard that remix like once back in 2015 or whatever, and we were like, oh cool, yeah, sounds good, like, you know, sax is at the end. But remixes in general, you kind of hear them and go like, yeah, sounds good, and you know, they're going to put it on, it's, you know, it gets different playlists or DJs will play it, whatever, you know, it's an interesting different interpretation. But that one, I don't even think it was properly released. It was on like a Dance Head Candy remix tape or something like that, or vinyl. And somehow this influencer in America, I can't remember her name, she found it, liked it, did a video of herself lip syncing along to the start of the song, and then her followers, I guess, started doing the same thing. And it's, I don't know, it's like a way of, they copy each other and, you know, do their own slant on the video, and then it's like wildfire. It seemed to just go around like hundreds of thousands of people doing all these videos. And we didn't even know what TikTok really was at the time. You know, we've heard about this new app, but none of us had it. And when our manager said that, we obviously then sorted out like a band TikTok and checked out the videos. We were like, wow, this is mad. But it feeds into then, you know, your streaming and everything. Like that's our #1 streamed song now. We released it pretty quickly after that, re-released it. You know, and that is now one of the biggest streaming songs we have, which is just crazy, because it was like winning the lottery when you didn't even know you'd entered. You know, you hadn't even put a ball into the little spinning thing. And out it popped.
Yep. I've avoided TikTok up until this, but you hear so many similar stories where it's been a very useful tool, and even better, like you say, when you're not even intending for it to be.
Yeah, you don't even have a TikTok account.
Yeah. According to the trusted Wikipedia source, it'll be 20 years next year that the band formed. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think it'll be. It'll be September 2023.
So how does that feel to say that? Does it feel like time's flown by, or?
Yeah, it's so mad, honestly. Like like recently we were like, yeah, we've been a band for like nearly 19 years. What is going on? You know, it's basically half our lives. And it feels like it was yesterday when we started, but also that it was 19 years ago. You know, it's that weird kind of the way time works. And so much has happened since then, but it's, you know, you still got on stage every night with the same people. And I think like playing some of the like songs are like little time capsules in themselves. So like playing some of the first album stuff, it is almost like being transported back to that time, just for that, you know, for a brief moment. So I think time moves weirdly when you're in a band. It's like living in a bubble. But I mean, we've made a lot of songs together and done a lot of stuff, and it's just really cool that we can, you know, we still get to do it. If someone had said to us back then when we started, like, you'll still be doing this band in 19 years or whatever, wouldn't have believed them.
And because I was going to say, what sort of memories do you have of the early days? So do you think is there certain things where you'd look back maybe and think a bit of work to do, should I say? Loads of work to do. I think some bands get really lucky and just stumble upon, you know, they just glue and it's like straight away the sound of the band that you kind of end up knowing. But for us, it definitely took a year or so, I'd say, of us kind of finding our feet. Like Merv's voice sounded very different in the early days. It was much more kind of Brian Molko, like a bit more nasally, like it was a bit different sounding. And us as musicians, you know, we were coming from different angles on things, and like there was loads of great stuff, and like it was us like piecing things together in a way. And then finally, you know, I'd say after the first couple of EPs we did, it all started like, oh yeah, we know who we kind of know where we're heading with this now a bit more. And we just got more, and like the more we played, obviously you kind of grow as a band, as musicians, and get more confidence. And the more songs you write as well, you know, the more songs you arrange as a band, make as a writer, whatever, it's like you just get better and better at knowing like where to push, pull, add hooks, do this, do that. And like but it definitely took us a few years.
because we didn't get signed until 2007, end of 2006, 7. So it was nearly, it was about 3 years.
3 years of graft. Yeah.
Of graft and driving around the country in my granny's old Vauxhall Aguila. we used to just like, we said to our manager who came on board like in 2005, maybe, we were just like, listen, just get us gigs wherever. We'll just go and play anywhere. So we'd go up to like, I don't know, Newcastle one night, then come back, and like the guys would go to uni, I'd go to work, and then we'd go up to Glasgow the next night and then back, and same again. And, you know, Liverpool, and we'd just try and do like 3-4 gigs a week if we could. Never getting any money for them, obviously. If we were lucky, we'd get like 20 quid for petrol. But, you know, they were great, like such good early days. And I'm glad that we kind of just did everything ourselves to begin with. And we had a good few years of that. So we, you know, that's always in our minds of like, it's not just, we didn't just click our fingers and suddenly we were like playing big venues. It took us a long time building up fans. And so we really, you know, we love the process of being on the road and doing gigs and winning fans over at festivals and all that side of it. You know, it's all great fun.
A satisfying way to sort of get the results. Yeah. And what sort of relationship do you have now with the older songs? I know you mentioned it brings a bit of nostalgia, but do you have to play these songs all the time? You know, the big hits from the early days. Is it ever arduous, or is it always a pleasure?
No, honestly, like people ask that sometimes, because I know some bands can end up with like sort of love-hate relationships with some of their bigger songs or whatever. But for us, I mean, so far, touch wood, you know, pretty much all the songs that ended up being like quite big, we just love playing them, because I guess because the crowd reaction is always so so good for those songs. We love it, like we feed off it, and it, wherever we are in our heads, like the crowd just pulls you out of it, and like the adrenaline flows, and we have an amazing time. Like saw Strokes headline Lollapalooza on Friday last week, and they didn't play last night.
Right, yeah, I think I saw that on the set list. Yeah, I think they've done that before, haven't they?
And like when they walked off stage, loads of people in the crowd were singing the song, just a cappella, and obviously that's their choice. Like whatever, it's fine. But it just feels to me like if you've got a massive song that everyone wants to hear and you're playing in front of thousands of people, I don't know. Why would you not just play? It's like 3 minutes of your life to give loads of pleasure to that many people. But anyway, every band's got different, you know, reasons for being up there or whatever. And if they really hate it for whatever reason, like we do have, there are like some songs that, you know, occasionally it'll be like, oh, are we going to put that one in the set tonight? You know, because as you say, when you've played it that often, but nah, all the major big ones, we always bang them out.
Yeah, good to hear. Like most bands are of that opinion, but like you said, there are the select few. We'll come on to the UK tour shortly, but first it's the theme of the podcast, so I'll ask you the question we ask everyone. We ask all of our guests for 3 musician picks, past or present, that they could spend an evening with, get to know, pick their brains. Who is your first choice and why?
Okay. Well, I think first up, I'll probably have a little aperitif with maybe like Camille Saint-Saëns, you know, the classical composer, French guy. He did like Carnival of the Animals, and he sort of lived in the 1800s, early 1900s, and I felt like it'd be nice to have someone from a different time period to get like some really interesting stories and insights into how things were back then. And also like The Swan, one of his pieces of music is like one of the most beautiful classical pieces I've ever heard. So I'd like to chat to him about that. And then
interesting to pick that. Time traveling.
Time traveling as well. Next up, I think like
moving into the 1900s now.
Yeah, we need to go a bit on now. Probably go like maybe Serge Gainsbourg, you know, the French artist.
More French, but it's
yeah, I'm going French again. Well, my fiance's French, so that's probably why.
I was about to ask, could you speak French? Or?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, so that's also why I get to practice my French. Well,
no language barrier, then it's all good.
No, we'll be in a little dive bar in Paris as well, of course. And then yeah, because well, to be honest, when you mentioned like having a pint, that guy liked to drink, so I think it'd probably be a fun drinking partner. And also like amazing career, like so many stories. I reckon that'd be an interesting one. And then to finish with, as we get later in the night, we need to take things up a level. So then Keith Moon,
yes,
because he liked to party. So
he did indeed,
and also fellow drummer, like amazing drummer. I feel like that could be really fun. We could have a drunken drum off at the end.
Sounds good. You'll be surprised to know that your first two haven't been picked before, but I think Keith Moon definitely has.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But while we're on the topic, who were your sort of drumming inspirations as well as Keith?
Keith Moon was definitely one. Dave Grohl was probably the main kind of, I remember hearing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on MTV or seeing the video, and there he is with all his hair just going for it in the school gym, and I was like, whoa, that looks so fun. And I was probably like 12 or something. And yeah, I was just, from then on, I mean, I'd been interested in drums anyway because I played in an orchestra. I played the flute in an orchestra, and then the drums, for whatever reason, I just kept gravitating towards it and asking the drummer questions, and in little breaks and stuff, he'd give me a few little pointers and lessons and that. And then, so it was in the back of my mind. And then, when I saw Dave Grohl playing, so he that would have been a major inspiration. And then, I don't know, like Jimmy Chamberlain for Smashing Pumpkins drummer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was really into them. I mean, I loved all like, Travis Barker, Trey Cool, like sort of pop punk stuff when I was a teenager, Blink, Green Day and all that, I'd be listening to that sort of stuff. But then equally, like Radiohead. So the beat, I'm trying to think. Levon Helm from the band.
Okay.
He's an amazing like drummer and sings as well. I think that was always probably why Dave Grohl and like Levon Helm stuck out for me, because they were both like singing drummers, and I liked singing and playing drums at the same time as well. So yeah.
Oh, interesting. And you did mention that you played the flute, so I'll look forward to seeing that in the Wombats in the near future.
Well, if you look, there's a music video online we did. Well, it's not a music video; it's just drunk on a tour bus. But we had this like tour song called "Kenneth Clark's Beard," and I think there's a video of it on YouTube, and I do play the flute in the intro of that. So Kenneth Clark's Beard live, the Wombats.
I'll be going straight to that after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good picks and solid inspirations you've gone into there. On a final note, as I mentioned, we'll look ahead to what you've got in store for 2022, which I assume revolves around festivals in the UK tour. So go out. Where are you visiting? Sorry.
So we're going. We start in about 10 days, and we do UK for 2 or 3 weeks, and then Europe straight away for 3 weeks. Then Australia for 2 weeks or so, and then it's UK festivals. So from now until like mid-June, we're pretty much solid, and then festivals in the UK. Pretty much, we're doing Lollapalooza again in Chicago, but apart from that, it's pretty much UK stuff. A few more headlines.
Good weather in Lollapalooza for the next one. I'm hoping.
I know. Yeah. Well, actually, last time we were in the Lollapalooza in Chicago as well. Fortunately, we'd managed to play, but there was a huge storm that hit, and they had to evacuate the whole site. So everyone went out into like little bars, and just started drinking and stuff. And I think Florence and the Machine were like delayed by quite a bit for the headline slot that night. But
these storms follow you around, don't they?
I know, honestly. And then Puckle Pop. Like 12 people died at that year when the mad storm that hit. We'd played and then we went out. We got caught in it and ended up hiding in a container.
God.
I mean, with climate change, these things are only going to get worse as well. So, but it's the risk you run. Outdoor events in general. It's like you just cross your fingers and hope for the best. We had a festival cancelled in Australia once because of the forest fires, like the bushfires. So Yeah.
No.
These things happen.
Fingers crossed, everything runs smoothly. But what festivals are you looking forward to though? Because I saw you were on the top banner of the Kendall poster yesterday.
Oh yeah, Kendall Calling. Yeah, can't wait for that one. Yeah, we've never done that before, but obviously growing up in no.
Oh.
But growing up in Liverpool, we obviously like went to the lakes quite a lot, so it's going to be awesome. And our manager's actually from Ulverston, just down the road, so he's very excited for that one. Boardmasters. We were supposed to do it a couple of years ago, but it got cancelled because of the weather. Yeah. There was like a storm or something. So hopefully that'll go ahead. That'll be really nice, like down in Cornwall. But yeah, no, it's going to be a nice summer, hopefully. Yeah. Better than the last couple, anyway.
Definitely. Sounds good. But yeah, thanks so much for doing it. Been a great guest. Of course. Yeah, thanks for your valuable time, as James always says to people. He's not on today, so I'll thank you for him. Yeah, and all the best for the rest of the year.
Nice one. Cheers, mate. Nice speaking to you.
Cheers. Bye.
All the best. Bye.
Bye. Yes, so that was the Wombats' very own Dan Haggis. A big one for me personally. They were the first band I saw, I think, and then went on to see them several times in my high school years. So yeah, quite.
Apart from that X Factor tour.
What X Factor tour?
That you went to when you were in school?
Firstly, when I made that joke, it was primary school, so I'd like to specify that part. And secondly, it never happened anyway, so what's the point in talking about it? You're going to New York, or should I say moving to New York? Although you're not actually moving to New York, but you know what I'm getting at?
Moving to New York for 7 nights.
Yes, but have you got problems with your sleep?
That is not the reason. The reason is I quite like the city. It's all right.
Okay. Have you been before?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. I've never been. I'd love to go.
Come with me. I'll just jib Jess off.
Perfect. Well, then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a good job she doesn't listen to this. And she's probably asleep right now and did not hear that.
Good stuff. But
did you enjoy that one, Sean?
Of course I did. It was a big one, as I said. I was excited for a long time once it was in the calendar. It seemed to have been bubbling for a while organising that one, and just a great fella. Anyway, I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely knackered after football, so we'll do the socials and get to bed, I think. Yeah, where can you find them? Because I cannot be bothered saying it.
You can find us on Facebook, Northern Chorus UK.
Tick.
Twitter, Northern Chorus _
Correct.
Instagram, Northern Chorus.
Correct.
Website www.northernchorus.co.uk. Fantasy Pints Podcast available on all streaming platforms.
Full marks. Top house, full house. Sorry, I am very tired and it is bedtime. But thank you for listening and see you soon.
Ta-ta.